That's great because there's a long tradition in American history of just that. Like that's no different to me than people sitting in at lunch counters in the civil rights era to start, to protest an unjust law, to start getting their getting the rights that they rightly deserve. So I think that you want to do that both in office and out of office is
Well, we got
fantastic.
the idea from the Young Lords, who were a Puerto Rican group in New York City who provided community services, like the Black Panthers, but for their community. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, there's a lot of inspiration. People, you look back at our
yeah,
history, a lot of inspiring stuff.
All right. So check out RebeccaParson.com for more information. And now we're going to get to the other side of our show. And Rebecca, you are hanging out with us for a little bit. Is that true?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So as you know, we cover the city council meetings on Wednesday. Jeff and I will have a discussion. He's actually downtown right now. And I'm going to just forward his slides as he created this. So Jeff, why don't you jump in there and just kind of guide us through here?
Yeah, well, let me ask you: do you want to do the city council roundup, or do you want to do the discussion on Martin
Let's do
v.
the
Boise?
discussion because you have people there.
Yeah. So if you can pull up the other PowerPoint.
Oh, there's another PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay, where'd you send that to me at?
That should be in the same directory, or you want me to try to pull it up?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, let me see if I can do this.
I mean, I'm good. I would get there eventually.
How's that? Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can.
Let me slow this.
There you go. Everybody can see it.
You got it? Good.
Yep.
I can't see anybody else, so you have to tell me to stop anytime. So just an introduction to what's been going on ML King Way down here. I think the best way to start is with the citizen comments. And now I'm thinking I'm going to have to pass it back to you. Do you have the citizen comments ready there, or do you want me to pull those up? I can find them.
No, I do not have
I've got them
ready. You got them? Go ahead.
It's
You know how to share your screen there?
I don't.
Yeah,
so there's a little button at the bottom. Well, Sean is going to come on a lot more, so I might as well teach him now.
He's
there's
good,
a square with an arrow there, and that'll allow you to share your screen.
All right.
Should be next to your camera and your mic. And Jeff, go ahead and pull it up as a backup. It's always good to have redundancies in place.
Yeah, I gotta get in.
Can you see it on my screen still?
And I still see your PowerPoint.
Oh, you still see my PowerPoint? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I'm not.
By the way, if there are any volunteers out there that want to help us with this show, like doing some background work, I think this would be a great community project. But let me try to share this again.
Make it look pretty easy as a one-man show, huh?
I know.
It's pretty crazy. A lot.
Okay, now I'm hoping you'll be able to hear the sound on this though when I play it. So,
can you see my screen? Did it work? Sharing tab.
Yep, I see. I have two screens for Jeff, but I don't have yours, Sean.
Okay.
Oh, actually, that is yours. That is yours, Sean. This is Sean's screen here. Go ahead and play it, Sean.
Public recognition provides an opportunity for attendees to address. As noted on the agenda, public recognition provides an opportunity for attendees to address the council on any city-related item that is not already listed on tonight's agenda. Please raise your hand to be recognized. We only ask that you state your name for use on the record, and you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. A timer system will be used so that everyone is treated fairly. With that, I open public recognition. And Christy Lyson is recognized.
I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. This is the time I can comment on anything that's not part of the agenda, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So just general community concerns.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start by saying I know many of you already, but I've owned my home in downtown Bremerton for 27 years. And so I'm a long-term member of the community. I'm a bit concerned that I feel like the council and the city government the house is on fire basically, and y'all are talking about rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. First of all, in terms of affordable housing, we do not have affordable housing, and none of the things I heard on the plans and the projects in process for affordable housing are going to change that. The basic rent, and I think it's basically every landlord has decided what the allowance is for the military to get housing here. There's a boat in, and so no matter what apartment it is, it starts at $1,800 a month. You have to show that you make 3 times that amount in income to even be eligible to rent that apartment, which means you have to make $70,000+ a year to afford the most basic apartment in Bremerton right now. I hire people all the time. I wish I could hire people. I can't even get people to staff the jobs I have, which require at minimum a bachelor's degree and more often a master's degree. We pay for those starting level positions $55,000 to $65,000 a year. So I can't even pay people enough they could afford a studio or 1-bedroom apartment in Bremerton right now. And that's for people with, those are professionals I'm hiring. So, and that's not even talking about the homeless in our community, which are in dire need of the most basic decency provided for just their basic needs, and who fall through the cracks for any homeless shelter program, just any kind of decent treatment in our city. This is a crisis, people, and I'm telling you, stop paying developers to develop housing here that supposedly is going to be affordable. If it's $1,800 a month, it's not affordable. It's not affordable. That's $70,000 is upwards of $34 an hour. Name how many positions in our city pay $34 an hour. I just want to present a reality check. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments and taking the time to contact us. Anyone else for public recognition? Brian Anderson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I just wanted to make 2 brief comments real fast to the City Council. I sent you all an email around 4th of July. I'm concerned about the degree and scale of fireworks that were going off. It seemed like the city made a very intentional decision not to enforce some of the ordinances that are already in place. And I do understand that there's a lot of pent up energy and excitement. People have been locked up at home for a couple of years, so maybe there was more 4th of July fireworks this year than normal. But my biggest concern is I think this is kind of a ticking time bomb, no pun intended, in terms of just like an ecological disaster. Bremerton is surrounded by timberlands. It just takes one firework or spark to set off a huge forest fire. I think I sent a drone video of the degree of fireworks going off all at the same time, and it was truly mind-boggling. So I would really urge the City Council, the power to I did reach out. I live in Evergreen, at a minimum 50 years old, and they're part of the scarce urban canopy that we have left in equity concerns that are desperately needed in Bremerton, which is a community with a lot of low-income folks who don't have AC.
To the speakers who are
Bremerton, which is up the sidewalk. And I do appreciate that we care. Okay, I live in Manette, and
6:40.
there were about 4 old-growth evergreen trees. And I don't know if there's heat islands in the city. There are many studies that have shown that. So I don't know if there's any consideration of some sort of ordinances to protect trees or committees, but I think that's something that's desperately needed in Bremerton, which is a community with a lot of low-income folks who don't have AC.
Thank you, Brian. You're at time, but I will just tell you that both issues that you brought up, we are actively talking about with committees and things like that. So
thank you so much.
I'll just say the city council is more active on some things than others.
We'll move forward. So.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next is Marlon Cameron.
Good evening, Council. Marwan Cameron. Good evening, Mayor. From the Conduit, I had two things I wanted to talk about this evening. The first one is downtown on MLK. Talking with folks down there and other people that are stakeholders that care about those folks down there are wondering what can be done in regards to placing bathrooms downtown and dumpsters downtown so that they have a place to put their garbage. Folks are ready to mobilize and provide staffing through volunteer so that folks can feel safe down there. But as far as we know, nothing like that has happened yet downtown, and that hasn't been tried. So I'd love to hear, what is going to happen. I know that coming up, there are some organizations that are going to have day shelters going on, but that may be a year and a half out. So what are we going to do in the interim? So that was my first issue. My second issue is in regards to the ARPA funds and the CDBG grant. And
okay, so that I just thought those were two. I thought your statement was very well stated, obviously, and also the other woman that spoke. But so the next day, the mayor responded. The mayor responded by sending down a police force and taking away everybody's stuff, throwing away all their stuff, and I was just shocked. I had a call, so I wanted to let you hear from a witness, someone who was there. This is Wendy, a good friend of mine down here, and I just wanted to let her kind of tell you what she witnessed that morning. I'll let you talk to her. Or do you want to sit there?
Yeah. Hello. Here.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. Good. Good to see you
again. Good to see you again, Wendy.
Hi.
Yeah.
So, that morning we had come down, which we usually come down every morning and visit, my friends down here. I consider them family. And there was a small, kind of like a dump truck bed, you know what I mean? And I saw them and they just started coming around and taking people's stuff. And there was a policeman at the end of the driveway down here, and he was checking all the license plates. Because I think you're only 2-hour parking here, and also wanted to make sure that everybody had tabs and everything like that. But I just couldn't believe it. And I told them, I said, hey, you guys cannot do that. These are people's lives. This is the only thing that they have. And they just were picking up mats and blankets and sleeping bags and tents and everything. It was not a good sight.
Can you, this hasn't been the first time, we met a couple weekends ago because we were doing a barbecue down there.
Yes.
And when we were setting up, they were arresting people. Can you speak to just some other things that you've experienced down there or other folks that have experienced?
Well, I know that for my boyfriend and I, we each got a $107 ticket for setting up a tent. And what was the name of that park up there, Dan? Forest Ridge Park. And I knew about the Boise versus Martin law. And they continued to ticket us for storing our belongings on public property. Well, storing means to put it away for another time, like at a storage unit, right? You rent it, you put things away for another time. I was going to use it because I have narcolepsy and am very tired and I need to lay down during the day. And you can't do that here in a vehicle on property at the Salvation Army. You can't even be in your vehicle during the day. You have to be off property. So we got a ticket. And went from one officer to what, about 4 or 5? Yeah, 5 officers there, who told us if we didn't pick up things right now, we were going to jail.
So Wendy, you were saying this ticket is $107. How often are they ticketing you? Is this a daily thing, or is it a week if you haven't, moved, or how does that work? Do you know?
I don't know. We picked up and moved right then and there. I, with my disability and stuff, I can't, go to jail and do those kinds of things. I have what's called cataplexy, where it's all my muscles give out over emotional things, like a marionette puppet, and I cut the strings and I collapse on the ground. In fact, I had one the day they were confiscating everyone's things here, Thursday. I was just so emotional that they were just taking everybody's stuff, backpacks, everything. I know I've been housed for 1.5 years now, and I know that when you're out here, you're constantly asked to be moved. You move here, you move out of this building for lunch, you have to leave a half an hour early, and afterwards you have to wait an hour to come back in. And you're constantly moving and asking to take your things with you. And when they come and they take your things away, it's like your very soul is ripped from you. You never have anything. You never have a place to even call your own, even if it's just a bench, or leaning up against the wall here and trying to stay cool, because the homeless need to have protection during the summer as much as they do the winter. It's hot out here, and I don't know. It's just, I just really feel for it.
John, Rebecca, do you have questions or comments for Wendy? Thank you so much, Wendy.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I have a question more specifically about Bremerton, but in general, Wendy, I often hear people say, talk about homeless folks as though it's like a lifestyle choice of they're choosing to live on the streets. Like in Bremerton, do you feel like that's the case, or do you feel like you have no options if you're on the street? I think it's more have no
how
options
people get here. There are many different types of homelessness.
Yeah.
Some of us, I just got my disability in June. It took me 3 years. And the only money I was able to get was the $197 that you get from DSHS on a program called ABD, Aged, Blind, and Disabled.
Yeah.
And when you get your disability, you have to pay that back. But so what do you do with $197? Where do you go?
Yeah.
I'm originally from Snohomish County over there. And Everett, I'll tell you, it was scary. I have family over here on this side, so I thought, okay, I'll come over here. And it's not as scary over here, excuse me, than it is over there. I have to say that there are some really, really good people out here. All of them are really good. We all have things that we need to work on, and we just need to realize that everybody is human. We all deserve to have a home, whether it's a tiny home, living in a trailer, in a park where it's fenced. I mean, we have so many state parks that are closed down, that if we could take one of those, fence it in to keep people out so that the homeless would be protected. Because a lot of people don't like the homeless. They want to put us aside so we're not seen. or heard. But there are bathrooms there. There are showers already there. You know, they could pay a portion of their disability or whatever money they have coming in. It could be on a sliding fee scale. There's so many options.
Yeah,
I like those ideas,
there
Rebecca.
are.
Yeah, Wendy, I was wondering if
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear anybody. Did I do something?
Can you hear me, Sean or Jeff?
Yeah, I can hear you, and I can hear
Okay.
Wendy too.
Hello.
Can you hear us, Jeff?
Yeah.
All right, while Jeff is getting that together, Rebecca, why don't you say what you're going to say, and we'll
Let's
just
see. Can you
repeat it
hear?
to him when
Oh,
he
there it
goes
is.
back on. Can you hear us?
Yeah, my question was if if you're Wendy or Jeff, are you seeing a lot of new people around who are homeless, like for the new in the last few months, or homeless for the first time?
That's a good question, Rebecca. Sounds like they're still sorting that out. I think there's a false narrative there is a false narrative about homeless people that it's a choice, which I think we should start combating.
I'm just typing this into the chat for Jeff and Wendy. We'll get it there. Jeff, I can call you on the phone too, if that will help. Or he might have pulled the cord out. That's what it looks like. Like you said, technology in the field. It's always a lot of fun. All right, so we'll let him get that. Yeah, what I was saying earlier, Rebecca and Sean, my agency went downtown to. We used to feed folks downtown pre-COVID, and then COVID hit. We had access to a soup kitchen downtown, and we'd go out to the tribe, and we could get these 3-foot salmon for $1, and my cook would smoke them or brine them one day, smoke them, and then serve them Sunday on actual plates with real silverware. They can come and dine. They didn't have to eat in styrofoam. They didn't have to hurry up and rush. Put on jazz music, and that's what we did every Sunday until COVID hit. Then COVID hit, we transitioned to outdoors. Then other agencies started doing food service every day because we only did it on Sundays. And then when the pandemic hit, we switched to Thursdays. And so now on Thursdays, because we have a transportation company, we just deliver meals to folks who are food insecure throughout the county. But that was it really helped. But there were folks that would say, hey, it's a duplication of effort. And, they're already being fed at Salvation Army. And it's like, well, what a privileged statement to say. It's like when I'm hungry, I walk over to my refrigerator and I have a snack, and I might have eaten an hour ago, right? Because I'm hungry and I want some food. And so just trying to, I think I don't understand how it's so difficult for people to put themselves into someone else's shoes. Just seems so difficult. So it looks like we have a new person coming on.
Yeah, hopefully, can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, I'm going to give it to this gentleman.
All right.
How you doing today, folks?
We're doing fine. How are you?
Pleasure to serve your country. Back when I was a young man, I'm 42 now. So go ahead, shoot away.
Well, just give us your experience. We would like to hear from you.
I've been off and on in Burlington for 30 years. My family is 4 different families. The smaller family is not really wanting to be involved in the other 3 larger families. I come from the Carter family. There's a Norwegian family. It's a very large Norwegian family here, and their last name is hard to spell. And Sarah Burks, who died years ago. The Burks family is another family that's part of my family, and they own like half of Burlington. Some of these properties here that are businesses, the businesses are still trying to buy the property and renting right now from my family, the Burks side of the family. our mayor really screwed up really bad. He was saving up money. He saved up to $1 million to help the homeless here before he decided to start tried to kick us out over to Seattle and Tacoma, and got the middle finger from Seattle and Tacoma. They didn't want his money, so he could force us out of here, because Seattle, Tacoma are overpopulated, just like Burlington is. There's 1,600 of us here, and the only ones that I know are down here. I want to know who the other people are so I could try to help them out. I was a homeless advocate for New Horizons Ministries and Peace on the Streets for the Kids on the Streets. The person that created Peace on the Streets for the Kids on the Streets, her name was Elena. She was the founder, and she was the owner of the drop-in center. She actually retired from being a drop-in center owner for the kids and people that were almost the age of 25. I've been a homeless advocate most of my life. I've done counseling stuff. I've done all that, and I did everything for free. I wasn't one of these advocates who expects money. Well, anyway, the mayor, my family was the one that paid for his campaign, like almost $4 million. The man turns around and he says he's going to help the homeless. He puts on his page, he has $1 million saved up. The guy who built the Marvin William Recreational Center, seeing it on the mayor's page, he was searching around for funds, and he called the mayor and he convinced the mayor to let him have the funds to put a recreational center up. So $1 million was stolen by a man who decided to put a $2 million building up across from Salvation Army to help the black folk. Us people pretty much that are considered white or even European, like me, don't even look black. We asked to use the bathroom, and they're no, you're pretty much saying you're not black. Get out of here. They're rude over there, inconsiderate. For instance, me and my girl and one of my sisters, we were charging our phones, and they came out through the side door and started being rude. And one of the ladies tried to start arguing with me, threatening me. And I said, ma'am, I served your country. Please don't be rude to me. I would appreciate it if you speak to me politely as an adult should talk to somebody. I'm not yelling at you. There's no reason for any screaming, yelling, and arguing with me. I don't like yelling, screaming, arguing, fighting. I don't like doing none of that. Another guy came out, started threatening me that he's going to whip my ass, and the police would be called on me after he threatened to whip my ass. He called the police on me. I was waiting for something to happen because I guaranteed I would have dropped him. 4 years in the Army. My dad was a military man, retired lieutenant colonel. I learned stuff I shouldn't have learned. I don't like fighting because the factor it's useless for me. Hurting people is not a thing. I've seen way too much happen in this city. And the police have gotten worse and worse with us homeless. They're ruder. They're inconsiderate. They throw us in the back of a car for no reason. We could just be sitting here hanging out right here on Salvation Army, and they'll think we're doing something wrong. And they'll ask Salvation Army, and Salvation Army's like, I don't know about it. I didn't see nothing, but if they are, just go ahead, remove them. Salvation Army has a few staff members that are really inconsiderate. They like to start arguments or pick fights. And I've been 48 hours been restricted, not being able to come back. 24-hour. I haven't got my 72. For some reason, they skip over 24-hour with me, and they give me a 48. They haven't given me 72 yet because it's been 3-4 times, and they have never given me 72 and then told me to get the hell out and ban me. I try to explain to them I can't keep the mask constantly over my nose because I've been washboarded twice when I was captured over in Iraq, and my MOS was recon missions and rescue missions. I had my own extraction team within 5 months of being over in Iraq. I went from a first class private to a squad leader in 4 months, and I've had a couple incidents happen where there was. You remember when we had a few 10 government officials go missing, and we found them in Iraq. I was the part of the 4-man extraction team that was the ones that pulled them out. one of our government officials that we were pulling out, that I was making sure got out safely, tried to hand me over to the enemy. I had to act quickly. I have almost 200 something kills under my belt, and 2 guys at the same time, throat slit with one swing, and I put that government official in prison for the rest of his life because that's against the law. You can't hand over your own person who's trying to rescue you and who protects you. You know, here in Birmingham, since I've been dealing with this town, the police are just, I don't know, it's gotten out of control. We're getting arrested for no reason. Treated like we're not even civilians. I'm wondering to put a stop to that.
I really appreciate you sharing your story. We have to let Rebecca go. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Hope to have you back on again in the future.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Great hearing your policies.
See you soon, hopefully. Bye.
Thank you so much.
You guys sit here. You have a wonderful day, and God bless.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind, John. Do you have a comment or a response, maybe in regards to the police down there? This is 2 people now who have kind of spoke about the treatment that they've been receiving from law enforcement downtown.
And Salvation Army, just freaking something needs to be done. Staff need to be removed. A few staff members have to be removed. Our captain is just literally, he sides with them, and then he listens to us, and then he agrees with us. He says, I'll do something about it. And the next thing you know, we're getting it told that we have to leave for 48, 24 hours. And he knows it's the truth, and he's seen it on the cameras, but he doesn't want to listen to us. He doesn't want to agree with what he's seen because he wants to side with his own staff.
Let me ask you this. What would you like to see happen? What kind of change would you like to see happen downtown? Respect.
We mind us as homeless, we mind our own business. We sit out here and like we're not doing nothing. We actually sit here and actually have conversations, and we act like a family member, like we're one big family. And we get harassed for no apparent reason. We could be over in Salvation Army, the property, like I said, the police will see us thinking we're doing something wrong, and we're just conversating. The only protection we have is Salvation Army does not allow public officials or any law enforcement to come in and look for somebody because it's against their church rules. It's like the churches here, the church rules of Salvation Army has protects us only when we're inside. If we're outside sitting on the property hanging out, then we're not protected from what's capable of happening from the inside.
Let me ask you another question. Has there been any conversations that you've had with law enforcement or public officials? Have they come to talk and say, hey, how can we all work together to work on what
they
exists?
refuse to even talk about. They refuse to talk about it. They don't want to help us. They want to throw us in jail. They want to come up with some charge that they think is reasonable enough to take us away.
And how many?
They harass us.
Yeah, how many people are living in Bremerton then, like this? With
There's
you said
1,600 of us that are homeless.
In the county or just in Bremerton proper?
In Kitsap County.
Okay. Wow. And you don't think, the politicians, no one from the city's come out to ask you what you want and what you'd like to see?
No, it's like we're not even civilians. We're not even normal people. They consider us criminals because we're homeless.
Yeah.
We're breaking the law just being homeless.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing.
The mayor has tried to send us to Seattle 5 times and Tacoma once.
I really do appreciate you sharing your experience with us. We definitely need to hear these stories.
Yeah.
While he is sharing
I want to have a story rewritten from the new generation of the homeless, just like they did in the mid 80s, early 90s, about Seattle. There wasn't one that was been written for Bremerton. From us, some of us that want to talk and have a book written. about homeless life here in Kitsap County. And if that's done, maybe people will see how we're treated here versus Seattle. It's harder for us over here because they don't call Kitsap County Kidnap County for no reason.
Really?
We get picked up for ridiculous
that
charges
is one of
that
the
the
great
police want to make.
Kitsap County.
The police want to throw a charge on us because we're considered criminals being homeless, put us in jail, and then we get railroaded for something we didn't do.
You sharing your story and advocating. Does Jeff have more people that are going to speak?
No. Hey, Jeff, you got anybody else that wants to speak? All right. Here's Jeff and another person. If you want to talk to me, my name is Chris or Italian Chris, either one.
Thank you, Chris.
So, all right. I will speak to you guys some other time in the future.
Thanks, Chris.
Or come down here. Come down here to the block. We call it the block. It's right behind Monica's and Salvation Army. If you want to speak to people personally.
Absolutely. Well, Joe in the chat is saying, thank you.
Huh?
Thank you, Chris.
All right, you guys have a wonderful day, and God bless, and you're welcome for serving for your country.
God bless you. Joe in the chat is saying, the sweep on Thursday reminded me that we want to organize a rapid response plan. Maybe we should be videotaping sweep events to potentially share with our legal advisors. Collect the names of the arrested and track what happens to them. Do they need bailing out? Can we help? I think both valid ideas. Jeff?
Hey there. So that's a lot, huh? A lot of good conversations. Huh?
Absolutely.
I've been kind of catching half of these conversations, realizing that there's like excellent conversations going on. So I can't wait to go back and watch a lot of this myself. But I wanted to follow up. There may be a couple other people that want to speak here, but in the meantime, I wanted to kind of show a conversation I had with the police department regarding this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me see if I can share this.
Pulling that up. What I had on the screen, everyone, is the point in time count.
Sorry.
You can go ahead and pull it up. I'm just talking while you're getting ready, so we don't have dead air. So this is the 2022 Kitsap County point in time count. You can just Google that, and it will come right up, so you don't have to search. Shout out to Anton Pressinger from Northwest Hospitality for his work on getting this done. And so you can see transitional housing, emergency shelter, unsheltered. You can see the totals over the years. And so this gives you an insight as to what's going on. It's broken down by city. The one thing that this doesn't capture, of course, because it's a point in time. So if they don't count you at that time, then you're missed. So we know these numbers are likely to be quite higher. But how much higher, you're not going to know. But this is the best that can be done right now. All right, go ahead, Jeff. Let's see. You got it down here. Let me go ahead and share your screen. Go ahead.
And I was going to lead in with this, but we had people wanted to talk, so I thought that was better.
That's perfect. People first.
So this is the Martin v. Boise, a right to exist somewhere. This is just it in a nutshell. In 2021, the Boise settled the lawsuit by agreeing to spend $1 million. Attorney's fees, and agreed to amend ordinances on public sleeping, as well as to train their police not to arrest individuals or issue citations when there's no shelter space available. Persons who are offered appropriate available shelter space but refuse to go could still be cited, which is the big loophole there, as I understand it. And I'll probably let Sean go into this, but anyways, and as the ACLU said, you're criminalizing someone for behavior that's unavoidable. Everyone has to sleep. And so like out here, basically what they've said is you're allowed to be for as far as I can see here, you're allowed to be on the sidewalk standing. I mean, when you really get down to it, you can stand there as long as so telling somebody that's just cruel and unusual. I mean, on its face, in my opinion. Especially when someone has narcolepsy. I mean, how awful is that? Sorry, did you have anything to add to that for Boise, Sean?
Yeah, and I'll preface that I did go to law school, and I am a licensed lawyer, so I know my way around these cases and jurisprudence. what I have to say now is just my opinion on this case. It's an interesting case, right? Because it's out of one of our more liberal jurisdictions, the Ninth Circuit. It's authored by a Judge Berzon. She's very, I actually met her before. She's very nice and she's very smart and articulate. But the substance of the case is there were some homeless folks in Boise, Idaho, who essentially were left out of the shelters of Boise. It's a common fact pattern which would apply to Bremerton as well. The Boise police were arresting them for violating public camping laws. And those individuals challenged those arrests under the Eighth Amendment, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. And the quote that really sums the case up for me is when Berzon says that, which is, I'll start here. She says that is, as long as there's no option of sleeping indoors, the government cannot criminalize indigent homeless people for sleeping outdoors on public property on the false premise that they had a choice in the matter. And so she's articulating a principle there that if you have no choice on being housed, you can't be arrested for it. That's criminalizing someone for not having a choice, right? But I wouldn't consider it a loophole, but where people who want to continue to arrest homeless people are gonna go with this is the notion that is the idea that there's still gonna be beds out there. So every cop who still wants to arrest someone is just gonna go out there and say, well, there's still a bed for this person to sleep in, so they still have a choice. So because they have a choice, I can arrest them. And I think that's where you're going to see the legal battles on this case. Homeless people, to avail themselves of this section of the Eighth Amendment, are going to need to prove that within their community, there are no more homeless shelter beds for them to go to. And it's going to be like an individualized response. So I think that's where you're getting at with the loophole, right, Jeff?
Yeah, and let me go into what my conversation with Sergeant Roback.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, but I think this will get right to what you're talking about. Let's see, can you share that? Yeah, there we go. And I'll just read this in case you can't read it. This was my email to the sergeant. Dear Sergeant Roback, the other day we had a conversation relating to the enforcement of property rights, Martin v. Boise, and what is considered public areas. In our conversation, you confirmed that the only public areas within walking distance from the corner of ML King Way and Park are the sidewalks. From what you said, it sounded like the only place we're allowed to exist is in a standing position on the sidewalk. You said no tents were allowed. What forms of shelter are people allowed to set up on these sidewalks where you are allowed to be? And please don't suggest the Salvation Army or finding someone else that owns property. Where is someone without access to any property in Bremerton allowed to exist and shelter themselves in Bremerton? Okay, that was my letter to him, because I was pretty hot. And this is me being okay, being a little, but
hey, that's pretty good for being hot.
Yeah.
Very restrained.
Hold on, let me see if I can get to his response here.
Those are some pointed questions, and there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
We can see his response.
Oh, you can?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, you just took it down.
Oh, shoot. All right. What did I do wrong here?
If you want to put it back up, I can read it for you if you can't read it while it's up.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Come on now. Just want to view this. Okay. So, hello, Mr. Campbell. We always have to suggest the Salvation Army shelter as that is the whole reason for their existence here in Bremerton. That's a pretty poignant statement. I keep like, wow. To provide a safe place for people to remain and receive resources. In other words, that's their responsibility. The city has no responsibility. Okay, anyways, let me go ahead and read this through all the way. Sidewalks are intended for travel and not permanent fixtures such as shelters or tents. The sidewalks need to be clear and free of obstacles so that all persons can travel safely. Primarily, our biggest concern is that children or someone with disabilities, such as in a wheelchair, need to have safe pathways to travel. And if shelters are blocking sidewalks, it forces those travelers into the streets. We can never permit anyone to set up shelter on another's private property, such as parking lots, backyards, etc. During the daytime hours, everyone is welcome to use the city parks, but there is no overnight access or camping allowed in those locations per city code. The city has a no camping ordinance, which is usually enforced at the Salvation Army, as the Salvation Army and the Kitsap Rescue Mission on Kitsap Way have beds available. And that's getting to this. The Martin v. Boise ruling held that cities cannot enforce anti-camping ordinances if they do not have enough shelter beds available for their homeless population. It did not necessarily mean a city cannot enforce any restrictions on camping or public property. Loophole. It would be wonderful if I could provide you with a different direct answer as to location for persons to exist and shelter. However, that answer for Bremerton is the Salvation Army and the Kitsap Rescue Mission. Thank you for reaching out and for the work you do with persons of need here in Bremerton. Respectfully, Sergeant Rodney Roback, Bremerton Police Department.
Yeah, see, you have the city's answer right there. There's beds available, and that's going to be the heart of the dispute, all the disputes under this case.
But are the beds available if you don't have access? Like if you're on a 48-hour or a 72-hour, then that bed's not available to you. I know that the rescue mission, you can't just show up at the rescue mission and get in. There's actually a process.
Yeah. It's kind of, it highlights a tension in the legal system. There's a principle articulated that no one who doesn't have a bed really has a choice, right? Like, that's why I like that quote. I like that one line from her so much. Like, if there is no option of sleeping indoors, the government can't criminalize indigent homeless people for sleeping outdoors, right? Mm-hmm. Like, but then when you get into the facts of it, where so you've got that great principle, right? But then you start getting into the factual disputes, and that's really where all the rubber hits the road in the courts. What are the facts? And it's kind of an illusion, right? That people are out there on the streets, like, living homeless because it's a lifestyle choice. That's almost what the cop is getting at there. And I think that the tension in that case, a really humanistic principle that really could enshrine as a right, not punishing people for being homeless. And then the factual dispute where it's like, well, we're going to have to factually figure out whether or not you really have any choices. And that's an illusion. What do you think, Marwan?
I was just going to say, this is unfortunately it's typical. It doesn't go to actually, they spend so much time trying to defend what is instead of being solution oriented, right? It's like, so what else can we do? We've had people come on and say, well, what about the empty buildings? What about this hospital? And oh, well, they could hurt themselves while they're in this building. It's like, well, you know what? It's not safe for them. It's not safe for them outdoors. So, folks are breaking in because it's safer having some sort of shelter. Yeah, they can step on a nail. They can do all these different things. Put up a sign, say that the person is not at fault if they're hurt, in that space, or come in and put some resources in there because that's clearly where people are going, and then support. But they just defend, okay, there's nothing we can do. This is what it is. And it's like, well, we're looking at all these different options that could be done. I thought Wendy had some really good things. It's like, okay, let's try something. And if that doesn't work, let's try something else. But let's be doing something. But right now, it doesn't appear like we're doing anything. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
welcome back, Wendy.
Hey,
And
Wendy.
at what point do the police or our mayor understand that the circuit court is above all of any court here in Kitsap County, any state court? You know what I mean? They're below the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court rejected to overturn it.
Yeah.
So let's quit trying to find roundabout ways and do what it's meant to do.
Yeah, like this case for me highlights kind of why we should revamp our system a little bit. Look at like the legal cases about whether or not police officers can arrest people for being on the street. That's our starting point of the conversation. That's really unproductive. Like in a maybe a more healthy society, we could start the conversation by being like, holy crap, there's people on the street. Let's get them off the street and help them, instead of litigating whether or not we can drag them off public property. Like the whole pattern and the way the case is approached and how we're talking about it is just backwards, in my opinion. And Wendy's hitting on that. We can just do stuff now. We don't need to have like we're waiting for the court to sort these things out. It's nonsensical.
No, they already have.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what the barrier or the problem is. I don't understand.
I think the problem is, and Rebecca said it earlier, which you missed, Wendy, is our system favors property rights and profit over people. This case is about kicking people off property rather than focusing on housing people.
Well, the thing is that the mayor could make this a wonderful end of his term on doing things for the homeless. Be in the news. I mean, come on. Let's make Bremerton popular for, you know what? We have a community right here. Why don't we buy all these houses here and all these houses here? And the renters won't be complaining anymore, will they?
No.
We could have one of the houses be for elderly men, have raised garden beds so they could be in their wheelchair or walkers and be able to do that. We could have a basketball court out here for ones who want to play basketball. I mean, why does everything have to be a punishment?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we're trying to make people stay here and be homeless. That's not it. We want to get everybody a home. But until you get a home, you really can't work on problems. And you know what I mean? Going to drug rehab and detox, and coming back here and being right in the same situation. How long are you going to be detoxed and rehabbed before you start over again?
Yeah.
That's the problem. We need housing first.
I really like that vision you articulated for that block, Wendy. You're an activist. We got to get you in front of the city council with 1,000 people behind you, because anyone who's against what you articulated for me is, kind of looking at this problem in an inhumane way. So I really
and all these houses are rentals. All these houses are rental houses. And
you know what's interesting, Wendy and Sean? I've been working in this sector for several years now. I've never heard that idea. And when you don't ask the people that are affected, you're not going to get all the ideas, right? It's like, oh, we're just going to make these decisions on what we think is best.
But they don't know because they have not been here. I was here for 3 years.
Wow.
3 years. And it's changed me forever, but in good ways too. That I am now going to make sure that other people don't have to go through this or be so hard to get services. See, I've never done any drugs or anything like that. They can't send me to rehab or detox because I've never done any of that. So I kind of fell through the loopholes.
Yeah. So part of this Boise decision is this idea that you can only be arrested if you don't have a bed to go to. What do you say to that, Wendy?
Well, I don't think that it says that. I think that it says that you can't criminalize, penalize, or ticket a person who is homeless as if they had a choice in it.
Yeah.
So
something Marwan and I were talking about is like, is it really a choice to be homeless, right? because that's kind of what the case is implying, that there's a choice that you can be homeless. And I don't think there's a choice.
There, like I said, there are different groups of people. But it all comes back to too, with some that are mentally ill who think that they have nowhere else to go. You know what I mean? Or they may have a home somewhere.
Yeah.
And nobody really keeps track of us. I mean, how do you know that they don't have, you know, a big house down here in Shelton in another county, and they're here under a fictitious name, because you don't have to give your real name.
Yeah.
So I really liked the way that the rescue mission used to have a badge, and you would have it scanned at nighttime so they know who was there. Now, if we had that system here, anytime anyone got, you know, lunch or dinner, they would have correct numbers. Where people were seen last if someone does go missing. I just think it's a really good idea.
Yeah. What other ideas do you have?
Oh,
Yeah.
You have a lot of good ideas, Wendy.
Good one, Sean. Absolutely.
Well, these sweets that they're doing is really only costing our taxpayers and the people who give donations. It's costing them lots of money. You know, I think it's great to have all of this be one area for family and children. You know what I mean? And everything's close. Meals, Salvation Army. We've got the respite care that will be going on right here at the old rescue mission. We have Peninsula up here where everyone goes to the doctor and gets their prescriptions. I mean, it just makes sense to have it right here.
I agree. What are things that, like, we haven't met yet, Wendy. My name's actually Sean. I'm a labor and community organizer around here. What are things you want to see from organizers? Like, what do you need from people who want to help you?
When I was homeless, or now afterwards?
Now and homeless.
Well, you know,
both questions, both.
I think it would be really good to have a community garden. When I was at this St. Vincent home for women, they had a small one, and that was my job, was going over and watering. Of course, I've been gardening, you know. I was married for 22 years and owned a home for 10, you know, and have had horses, and this can happen to anybody. If you think this can't happen to you, you are in denial.
I've had that same conversation out gathering signatures for whole Washington. Someone will go, I don't need universal health care because I've got a great insurance plan right now. My job covers it. It's like, okay, well, are you always going to have that job?
Well, that's it. We don't know what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah.
So we take it one day at a time. And I just think that the city council and the mayor they mean well, but they also, how should I put it? It's hard to imagine what it's like down here if you have not been actually here. You can sympathize, but until you've been here, you know, it's a different world. It's a different world. But I think that Kitsap County and Bremerton is a wonderful place. I think we have so many, like we said, empty buildings. I think instead of trying to do things for getting people to come here, why don't we start doing things for people who live here? Why don't we have, you know, a place where there's a rock wall, people can go out and climb it in one of the buildings so it can be used, you know, all year round? If they want to change it up, you know, they can change it up. I mean, there's so many things. I see kids skateboarding at the end of the Manette Bridge here. You know, they're going to get hit. You know, but people down here too need the same things. Just because we're down here doesn't mean we're not human anymore. We still need.
Wendy, I wanted to ask Sean a question. You know, couldn't the city or the county use eminent domain and purchase the properties and create this community that Wendy is talking about?
I would think so. But I'm not a real estate or zoning I don't know. But I'll tell you what, our mayor is. So he'd be one to ask that question.
Yeah, Sean is our resident attorney there. He said he's muted and he can't unmute. You're not muted on my side. You're good.
It says private chat.
Yeah, that's for
Oh, I see. Yeah,
I'm
muted and
people can't see. Mm-hmm. So we'll let him work on his piece there. But you know, I just feel I love that idea, Wendy. You know, using purchasing those properties. You know, we watch. I think it was this last city council meeting, or maybe it was the week before. But they're talking about doing some renovations at this huge golf course, and you know, I'm not a golfer, so I don't have appreciation for it. But I see all this acreage of where housing can be put. Right, it's like priorities. You know, it's like, all right, we can play after people are fed and after people are housed and after people are healthy. And then let's have all the fun we want. But you know, it's hard to watch that, and part of it is, you know, well, the golf course is creating a profit, so you know we're gonna pour into that, and we're gonna support that. But it's like I just see all this land like housing. Go ahead, John. We hear you.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. Eminent domain is an option. And this would all, what Wendy's articulating could easily fall under a social housing program where the city buys up land and develops it, seizes land through eminent domain and develops it, or sets up land trusts. So it's all doable. I think Wendy's hitting on a lack of political will from our current leaders. That's why it's not happening.
And couldn't that do a lot of things? Like, one, you purchase their homes, right? And many of these homes need a lot of work, right? They're really old and folks can't afford to upkeep them. So they give them the fair market rate downtown, right? Which means that these folks are going to experience a come up. You help them to get into another piece of property that's going to be good for them. So they're not displaced and now they're in the rental situation.
I believe a lot of them are rented to the Navy too.
And then, you know, yeah, and don't run to the Navy. I've got my thoughts on that, right? I mean,
yeah. Well,
folks
and
first.
Just like the Salvation Army is going to has purchased Monica's here, they're going to have to do some renovations to this in order for it to be that's going to be a food bank. So it'd be perfect to have these other buildings over here. Everything is right here at their fingertips.
And why not make it a workforce development thing where you say, you know what, we're going to use local labor. We're going to train folks and give them a skill that don't have it, right? We're not going to go and find some, you know, outfit out of California to come in and renovate and do all this. We'll get, you know, hire local labor and incentivize and give them the subsidy to say, hey, you know what, we're going to teach people these skills to take care of, you know, I mean, you're giving them so many transferable skills, right? Just being able to swing a hammer and different things.
Okay, I'm going to hand this over to
do that.
I'm going to hand this over to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Wendy.
And I apologize. I apologize for interrupting. We need to get out of here. We've overstayed our welcome. I want to say that if you were downtown ever and looking for a place to have a beer, come down to Monica Social Club because it is an amazing place. They've got a great beer garden, and we came in here and used their shade because it was the only place, and they've been kind and really appreciate it. Now, my other final plug, and I think that I'm going to have to shut down here, Marwan, for just a few minutes and go relocate. But let me throw in a real quick plug for Heathen's Bakery, who people just love their treats out here. Her treats. This is Jennifer Chamberlain's bakery.
Nice.
And so I picked up a bunch of her stuff and brought it down here to people, and they've been it's gone over a big. They've loved these treats.
We'll give her a horn for that.
Yeah.
Does anyone from Monica's want to come on and
they do,
you know,
they do, and I want to talk to you about that. Not for right now, but yeah, I think for a future show, there's a lot of different perspectives and people that would like to speak. So I think we will carry on this conversation. Hopefully.
Well, tell them yes.
Yeah, I do.
And we probably. You know, I think we probably should end it here. We've been going for 2.5 hours. You know, we can either pick it back up next Sunday at 1. We'll go back to our regularly scheduled time. Or if there's some time during the week, you guys want to jump on and finish this out, we do that too. But our viewers, they definitely complain when I have shows that are too long.
Yeah. Well, I have the our regular city council roundup. So that's probably an hour long, but so maybe we could tape that some other time. Whenever it's convenient for you. I think now's probably I'm exhausted too. I'm sure if anybody watching, people are like, "Oh my god, how long can this people?" But this has been good stuff today. I think. I don't know, just like listening to all of it, it's been amazing. I hope.
Oh no, it is good stuff. And my longest broadcast was 12 hours.
Really?
For the Kids Have Great Gifts.
12?
Yeah, that was a long day. 12 hours straight of like broadcast. I was like Jerry Lewis.
I think today was uplifting. Like we got Rebecca, who's offering a really positive option for voters, and then Wendy and Chris was his name. It was really interesting to listen to them.
I have to drop off. I'll let you guys continue, but I will talk to you guys later. Thanks, Marlon.
You got it. Thanks, Jeff.
See ya. Yeah, I think it was productive. I'm happy to come back and talk more.
Sure. Well, I mean, we do our Civic Second every Sunday at 1 p.m. Unless I'm with my daughter, and right now she's in Alabama, but she gets back in a few days. So
freedom, education, and family. That's all we need.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, I was telling people don't know, but we were talking behind the scenes. Like it's a pleasure to have gotten to know you, and we're already doing something, so quickly, which is awesome. And that's really how it's intended to be. It's like get together, build relationship, build community, and advocate for each other and make change. So I appreciate meeting you. I look forward to meeting you in person. Which I believe will be Wednesday at the Pancake Breakfast, everyone. So everyone is invited, and that is 11 a.m. at 4040 Wheaton Way in Bremerton, Washington, Suite 203. And when Chris was mentioning before the organization he was working for, that's the church. So they definitely believe in, really serving the community. So which is awesome. But I'm gonna give you the final word today.
All right. Well, after hearing what Rebecca and Wendy and Chris had to say, in Kitsap County, there's a solid grassroots movement building with the West Sound Democratic Socialists of America and my union, the Industrial Workers of the World. And what we're building, and Jeff's kind of leading this for us. He doesn't want to talk about it as a leader, but Jeff is a leader on this, is really getting into the community behind Wendy's and the Salvation Army and doing some grassroots work to maybe bring social housing to that block. So if people are interested in that, reach out and find us. We're talking about this stuff, and we're actually doing the legwork on it. So we need help, and if anything, come learn, because more than anything, we have a lot of fun doing what we're doing, like community organizing, getting to know your neighbors, and like working on democratic solutions to these problems is a lot of fun. And even if you don't have a lot of time to give, all we ask sometimes is a half hour a week. And we're all kind of in the same struggle too, as far as time and what we can get done. So join us. A movement is growing, and we need people to help us out.
I like it. I think that's a great final word. The only thing I'd add to that is please listen to everyone. Answered solutions come from everywhere. Got to be willing to learn and listen to every voice.
I like what Russell Brand has to say. We're all awakening wonders. We all have something to say and contribute in this. So that's great, Marlon.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. For Sean, Jeff, Rebecca, I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. This was the Civic Second. We'll be back next Sunday with another episode of the Civic Second. Otherwise, we will be back here. I'll probably do a show before Wednesday, but the Pancake Breakfast, everyone's invited. $3.99, our favorite price. We will see you then.